You are now about to witness the awesome, crushing might. Wait for it. Of Oh, I'm dizzy. Oh, almost passed out. Welcome, my friends, to a show that apparently never ends. Round number 319. I am your host with the most, Eugene S. Robinson. And I'm going to tell you something that's going to change your life. Right after the intro, the end-all intros, Stigmata from Calling of the Just. The song is called Intro All of Nothing. It's been our bumper music from the beginning, 5-6 years ago when we started on Combat Music Radio. Revelation Records in Huntington Beach, California. Online, still sells it. You should buy it. The whole CD is great. But we don't start the show until the magical words that sum it all up. Each and every way. I'm on my way back to nowhere. I took my time and I could not see so clear. I'm taking a real good look at you. I'm taking a real good look at your face. Of being paid back in full, always nothing. All right. So this is round number 319. Listen, I got to tell you something. I don't know about you, but I spend, I used to tell people in the old days, if you saw me sitting around just staring off into space, I could have been thinking about philosophy, or I could have been thinking about art or some such thing. I said, now, if you see me sitting around thinking, I'm just thinking about jiu-jitsu. Yeah, and that was, I'm taking jiu-jitsu 5 days a week, 6 days a week. Initially, that was the case. Now I think about jiu-jitsu about 30% of the time, but you know what I think about 70% of the time? Stomping people's heads into dust. I have a whole list of people whose heads I'd like to stomp into dust. Some guy said, I like Knuckle Up because it seems very precisely like you're about to stomp somebody's head into dust. Now, I'm not talking about general non-specific head stomping like you might encounter in traffic. Now, I'm talking about very specific crimes against a very singular humanity mind. So if you see me staring off into space, it's like the intro music from, which is is it Bach? I can't remember. And which was used in Clockwork Orange. I guess it would be Beethoven then maybe, or Handel. And Alex is in the prison, and he's cozying up to the prison, a priest, the minister, and he's reading all the Bible stories, and he's thinking about them exactly as they were not intended to be, right? Stabbings and shootings and beatings as he looks beatifically at the sky and back at the good book. I spend my weeks like this. My weeks are spent like this. But that's not about that. This is not about that. This is about something else. This is about UFC on Fox 19. Teixeira, Evans, and first of all, let me grab my tote sheet. I was sorry that you got to see, at least you're not seeing my nostrils, as one of you complained in days past. But here it is. I have a tote sheet. And first of all, before the chortling starts, you should know that I'm at 500. So, and this was a game that I'm doing like I do in jiu-jitsu. I'm trying to I'm trying to build Kid Nate's confidence, Kid Nate. You know, I'm trying to make him feel better about his picks the past few weeks. You know, now that Smirk is keeping count and we're running the stats. I mean, so in other words, I made these picks in a completely haphazard and not very. I didn't use my usual magic or mojo, and even barring me actually thinking about these things, I still came in at 500. So, but that's not the issue. And if you think that that's a story, if you think the storyline out of UFC on Fox 19 are my picks, you're absolutely totally wrong. You know, never. You know, this is very much like when, not so much when America resisted the efforts to enter into World War II when the Nazis were up to their thing. It wasn't until the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor that people flipped out and ran down to induction centers and tried to sign up. And part of the reason that they tried to sign up is, well, I mean, to fight the war. But I mean, during that day, you were if you were declared 4F, if you had flat feet or perforated eardrum, or you know, were homosexual or some such thing, and they denied you service in the military, you came home, you were crushed. You were not excited and not happy about that. You wanted to serve. You wanted to serve. And in that day, the day after Japan bombed Pearl Harbor, you know, there were lines around induction centers for people to go fight. People were checking in to the battalion. You see where I was taking this? They were checking in to the battalion. UFC on Fox 19, never have I seen a more of a concentrated fucking lineup for people to get into the Lost Battalion. It's intense. And if you weren't sitting there thinking about how intense it was, you know, but first of all, I want to lead off with the story about the dude. Should I even mention his name? Innocent till proven guilty. And I'm going to go far afield. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. But let's I want to, for a long time, we were talking about Johnny Boney Joni and about Johnny Boney Joni's problems, and we attributed, like, you know, East Coast, West Coast differences in policing, you know, the rigors and the vicissitudes of trying to be a sub-30 multimillionaire and star, you know, preacher's son. We pointed to everything, and we thought, you know, it's based on what Rashad Evans said. Clearly, the problem is Johnny Boney Joni. He's the problem, and you know, maybe every now and then you cast a gimlet eye at the Jackson Wink team or Jackson and you know, Winklejohn and think, yeah, hey, you know, maybe it's them. Maybe it's like there's Customato, but with no Customato there. Maybe I've come to the final conclusion after these weekends events that the issue is not so much Jackson Winklejohn, that the issue is not so much Johnny Boney Joni, that the issue is nothing but New Mexico. You know, it's New Mexico. It is New Mexico. And I asked one of my spies, Diego Brandao was arrested for pistol whipping a bouncer at a strip club in New Mexico. And of my spies, I won't reveal my sources, but I asked him in a very serious way. I say, is it you know, I'll go to it right now. I say, is it the team? Is it Winklejohn, or is it New Mexico? And he says, Eugene, it's New Mexico. He read yesterday that New Mexico is number 2 in the nation for drug overdose deaths. It's near the top, and alcoholism, driving while under the influence, everything that's bad for you, basically. New Mexico earns those rankings too, let me tell you. You know, and then he's talking about Brando. He goes, if he was with Jones, that would have never happened. Wait for it. It would have been worse. Of course it would have. Like my man D said, I don't know if he wants his name mentioned, Duncan, whatever. Like, you know, he's like that guy you're doing blow with, Johnny Boney Joni. And he says, hey, man, you want to turn it up a bit? And you're like, yeah, man, I'm game. what are we gonna do? Turn it up a bit. He goes, yeah, now let's play some Russian roulette. You're like, what? Hey, you know, really count on that being way we're gonna turn it up. But anyway, so going into this fight, that's the leadoff. Diego Brandao, pistol whipping. You know, it's like it's New Mexico, and if you are, you know, maybe it's the hills that were attractive, where the relative isolation, separation from media. Maybe it was the flora or the fauna that allowed you to concentrate. Maybe it was cheap real estate. But if you're Greg Jackson and Winklejohn, at this point, you really need to think about fucking relocating. You really need to think about it. Because if you get a place, I'm not saying the issues are any. Look, if it's number two, it's number two for a reason. Drug overdose deaths, that's not an accidental thing. It's not a statistical quirk, right? Where you go, well, per capita, per 100,000, per it, doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Like Morrissey sings, trouble finds you, or something like that. Paraphrase. I'm not saying, look, you don't get in LA, you get the distractions, you get the same thing. Hangers on, suck ups, you know, enablers, problems, but you got a lot more people. So you might do better of finding more of your people there. But when you got near the top in alcoholism, driving while influenced, everything that's bad for you, basically. So the cops are on full alert. They're rousting at the population. They're either pulling dead bodies out of hotel rooms or chasing guys for weaving across 4 lanes. This is not, you know, you have a, what's the word, labile. I don't know the pronunciation for it, but, you know, you have a highly susceptible population when you talk about fights. Get them the fuck out of there. I don't know what to tell you. Move to Taos. Maybe not Arizona is clearly not better, but, you know, you're going to have to find some sort of pocket to isolate these guys, and it's also got to be a pocket that they want to go to. Hard. Diego Brandao, you know, I mean, so let's talk about this list. Now, one of my spies, painstakingly put together this list, and I'm just going to read you the list, right? And I'm going to read it from the beginning. Here you go. So on the list of the Lost Battalion, you got it right here. Yeah, I actually put out the list. Junior Dos Santos, Chris Weidman, Jacare Souza, Shogun Hua, Daniel Cormier, Andre Arlovsky, John Dodson, Johnny Hendricks, Ryan Bader, Rashad Evans, Hanan Barrow, TJ Dillashaw, Chad Mendes, Anderson Silva. According to one of my spies, that's his list for Lost Battalion. But he goes even further. He goes to Phantom Toll Booth. Hold on. Or is this part 2? Oh my God. The toll booth is packed. Look, it starts here. Can you see? It starts here and it goes all the way down. I don't have time for that foolishness. Now, I'm not going to read you this whole list. It's Ian McCall, Chad Mendes, Ricardo Lamas, Charles Oliveira, Cole Miller, Josh Bergman, Joe Duffy, Michael Johnson, Adam Lobov, Nick Lentz, Michael McDonald, John McDessie, KJ News, Ross Pearson, Abel Trujillo. I'm not finished. Tiago Alves, Zach Cummins, Jake Ellenberg, Kevin Gastelum, Rustam Kabalov, Lawrence Larkin, Kirk Court McGee, Gunnar Nelson, Tarek Savadine, Eric Silva, Rick Story, Albert Tumanoff, Rez Madadi, Bobby Green, Alex Oliveira, Joe Lazon, Cub Swanson, Diego Sanchez, Dennis Seaver, Jimmy Manoa, Chris Camozzi, King Kevin Cozy, CB Dalloway, Tim Kennedy, Thalos Ladies, Brian Bob Marino, John Howard, Patty Holohan. Whew, my throat is killing me. Sorry. And that was a Phantom Toll Booth. And wait up. And he even goes deeper than that. He goes Planet Dark Star, where fighters go and they're never heard from again. And I was like kind of lukewarm on the whole Dark Star thing, mostly because I didn't think of it, because Kid Nate thought of it. But when you hear the names on it, you go, oh, crap. Bigfoot Silva, Joe Riggs, Clay Guida, Artem Lobov, who's made the list twice. He's Planet Darkstar, and mind you, his name was also in the Phantom Toll booth. Josh Koscheck, Gabriel Gonzaga, Gray Maynard, Nate Marquardt, Stephen Bonner. See, when you hear a name that's on the Darkstar, you kind of go, fuck, I thought that guy was dead. Did you have any sense of Stephen Bonner still fighting? You don't know. That's what he's Darkstar. That means you don't know. I don't know. I just don't know. And you hear these names, you go, oh man. Brandon Thatch, Mike Swick. Houston. No. There's no response. Eddie Wineland, Jake Ellenberger also mentioned twice. Mike Pyle, Frank Mir. That's his Planet Darkstar, according to one of the spies from New Mexico. And hold on. And he's made an extra list. He's gone off book. He calls it his limbo list, also known as TBD, En Road to Darkstar Battalion, Lost Battalion, or Phantom Toll Booth, and it stretches out to UFC 199. And the names are Vitor Belfort, Anthony Pettis, Alistair Overeem, Elias Theodora, Edson Barbosa, Brian Carey, Paul Felder. Paul Felder, who was a don't care, who made it to the care, but his languished. He could be going anywhere. Uriah Faber, Dustin Poirier, Glover Teixeira, Matt Brown, George Masvidal, friend of Knuckle, George Masvidal. This list is really incredibly comprehensive. And I'm not going to argue the rightness or the wrongness of his picks for these separate categories, but I am going to talk about it's given a lot of food for thought when you think about the fact that if you think about the fact that in the old days, these divisions didn't exist. Do you know what I mean? I mean, Chuck Liddell fought until Chuck Liddell couldn't fight anymore, right? There was no, he was looking wobbly and he had a couple away and then Rashad knocked him out and then Dana was like, that's it. The guy's a beloved franchise, clear Hall of Famer. Nobody, it's bad for it's a black eye for the org, not a feather in the cap. It's a black eye for the organization. A black eye. Not gonna keep running him out there. You are done. I'm fucking in. You're fucking out. I mean, what's interesting? Well, you look at some of the older fighters. Somebody was talking to me about Kimo Leopoldo, and it's like, I guess what's interesting about these guys is because, much like Joe Pesci and Samuel Jackson, or even Dennis Rodman, these guys didn't hit till they were already older. Early UFC featured men. Now, I know if you're 22 years old, you're running out there feeling pretty manly, but you're not a man. You know what measure of a man exists? Suffering. Now, you might have suffered a lot at the age of 22, but unless you were sexually molested as a child or got a terminal illness, your sufferings have just been difficulties. What qualifies a man is how many times was Randy Couture divorced before he was famous? I mean, I think he's like 50-50, right? 50, half of his divorces were before he was famous, half after. There's no kind of, if you're a man, you have one job as far as I'm concerned, to shoulder your burden without complaint, because you know what your problems are and nobody else cares. Now, you might have your lover, your wife, whoever connected to you. So, I care. They don't. People don't care. They don't care. You have one job as a man, and that's to, foolish man that you are, you should not weep, but should instead count your blessings and bear your burdens without complaint. Since the 60s and 70s, yes, we want men to be more vocal. Men don't typically communicate as well, and now since the 60s and 70s, we got a whole generation of blabbermouths. The guys are sitting around. I had a friend, his wife had died, but we're hanging out at a bar, and he's like, oh, I'm sad. And one of the other friends is a fighter. Go, we got to get rid of this guy. He's bringing us down. Go, look, dude's wife just died. He's kind of upset. He was like, how come he's not out trying to get pussy? I go, because his wife just died. He's like, you're missing my point. I go, what's your point? And fundamentally, his point was bear your burdens, shoulder your burdens without complaint. You know who cares? Maybe your mother cares. Maybe. But at a certain point, she's even thinking, what did I do raising such a fucking, what are you? You're some kind of grandmother sitting around complaining. shoulder your burdens without complaint because nobody gives a fuck. So the guys who fought in the early UFC, these were men. You know, not Gunnar Nelson. Who's the Sage Northbutt? What? Northbutt. What? Northbutt. What? His name is not Northbutt. What is it? Anyway, Sage, he's still in his teens, right? Isn't he? This guy is I'm not going to say he's no kind of a man, but you know what I'm saying? Early. So what I'm saying is they start later. Joe Pesci, Samuel Jackson, Dennis Pippen, they all hit like after 40. These tended to be reasonable guys, except I had trouble with Samuel Jackson interviewing him the first time. I thought we were actually going to come to blows. And I thought what was funny about that is Samuel Jackson really believes that shit that he does on screen. It's like, you do realize you're not a bad motherfucker, don't you? You do realize that. In the schema of bad motherfuckers, you're an actor. And you will get your head whipped up on the side of this fucking trailer by fucking with a guy who actually knows how to fuck with people. Come on, let's try to do business like adults, not assholes. I'll tell you the story later. So these guys hit as they were older. So what my point is, when they got to the end of the road, it was much more clear. If you don't hit until you're 35, if you're a Don Fry and you're not fighting your first fight until you're 33, by the time you get to 38, it's pretty clear that the music has stopped. These guys who started at 22, what? You're going to tell a guy who's 29 that he's done? So in other words, the finish was much more definitive with the early fighters because the early fighters started paradoxically later. So there was no question. When Chuck Liddell was done, there was no question. Chuck Liddell had a different idea, but everybody else. But the difference is Chuck Liddell wasn't saying, I'm challenging for the belt. Wasn't saying those things that clearly indicate like we got, oh, it scared the cat. That we got going right here, that the Lost Battalion is jam-packed. I'm not even going to read dude's list. I got too much of my own right here. Too much of my own right here. I mean, and I'm going to start at the top. I'm not going to start at the bottom. Well, let's start at the top in a very strange way. Let's start with the co-main event. Dan Henderson and Lyoto Machida. Dan Henderson is calling Lyoto Machida a piece of shit for using banned substances. Oh, pot. Yeah. Pot. I'd like you to meet Kettle. Oh, Kettle. I've heard so much about you. Yes, pot. Wonderful, wonderful. I love it. Oh. Dan Henderson is calling Machida a piece of shit? I guess you got to say something. You know, Dan Henderson's got, his new wife is supposed to be 22 years old and hot, according to Kid Nate. I guess he's got she's probably got expensive taste. He's got to keep the cash coming. You know, you don't get paid for the fights you don't have. And like I say, the most important person going up to your fight is that person standing opposite from you in the cage in that fight. You know, I mean, he needed to beat Machida, but he also needed Machida to show up. And I'm not down with calling Machida a urine drinker. He was on Knuckle Up. You remember that time when I was in Vegas? Man, I was wrecked. And I did the show from Vegas. Interviewed him. Got kneed in the groin by Machida's wife. But I got a good 5 minutes out of him. Dude couldn't speak a lick of English, but he spoke English that night. I think he spoke English. Or I was speaking Portuguese. It's one of the two. Man, if you knew the conditions under which I pulled this show out, you would give me that journalist award right away. But I'm very serious about this list. So Dan Henderson and Lyoto Machida, that fight was just canceled. There was no need to try to rescue it. Why? Because it's not fungible. You can't. Dan Henderson's opponents are not fungible. You can't just slam somebody in there. If it's an up-and-comer, he's like, what, I'm going to ruin my career for this old man? This old man show's got some kick in him. I gain nothing if I beat him, and if he beats me, I stop my upward moment. Forget it. No way. And what are you going to pay me? Peanuts? It's a play fight for him. No. And then anybody who's a serious, reasonable challenger is like, man, you know, he's still a crowd favorite. We want to squeeze some more juice out of this tomato. Don't fuck with that, Henderson. So Dan Henderson has this perfect kind of, you know, Lost Battalion-esque. There are only a few guys who are right. You know, they stand there with their induction notice in their hands, and they're like, hey, man, how'd you like to, hey, bro, would you like to fight Dan Henderson? Yeah. Yeah, I guess. Now, let me explain something about who is in the Lost Battalion. And I've been giving some thought to this, and you can tell me if I got any holes in this. But I'm going to make the claim that the only people in the Lost Battalion are true believers. You don't find cynical opportunists in the Lost Battalion. Or is it more accurate to say that the cynical opportunists that you find in the Lost Battalion are guys who've signed up? It's like, look, this is better than being dark-starred. You know, I'd much rather be in the Phantom Toll booth, but fundamentally, this is better than being dark-starred. Fuck it. Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm Lost Battalion. I'm going to make the obligatory noises about fights down the road. It sounds like I'm still in the game. I still get a paycheck. I got the health insurance. My wife is pregnant. Bada bing, bada bang. I'm going to go Lost Battalion because it's better than dark-starred. So right now, you've got these two guys. You got Machida and you've got Henderson. You know, these are known names, crowd favorites, but you can't get that breathless, hyperbolic Joe Rogan build-up for them, not after the runs they've had lately. You just can't. You just can't. You can't do it. Oh, yeah, baby. Oh, yeah, look at those guns. Look at those guns. Yeah. So those guys, so they fight the fight. Henderson and Machida fight the fight. One of them wins, one of them loses. What happens to the winner and what happens to the loser? It's a trick question. I'll tell you what happens. The loser of that fight, if Machida loses that fight, Machida is Phantom Toll booth. Not because he's a cynical opportunist, but he's damn sure not a true believer. Machida knows exactly where he is. He's Phantom Toll booth. Dan Henderson loses that fight. Dan Henderson is dark-starred. Danger is not for loss. Danger is for the win. Machida wins that fight. Machida is still Phantom Toll booth. Because he's dangerous, but he's not good enough where you get a leg up. You got to make a name for yourself. It's somebody on that B or C list that maybe calls him out. Henderson wins that fight. And Henderson is Lost Battalion 100% because he's making noises about getting another swing at the strap, which is crazy, crazy. So it was fraught on all sides with peril. Win or lose. The best thing for either one of these guys is to run away and to live to fight another day. However, that didn't soften the hammer and coffin. Glover Teixeira and Rashad Evans. Do you need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows? Because I don't. Is there anybody here, anybody within the sound of my voice or the eye line of my image who does not believe that Rashad Evans is fucking Lost Battalion? All of that talk going up to it. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the gold. I'm looking forward my next with the strap. And even the stuff he was, I was embarrassed by my loss, but no butt. No butts, buddy. No butt, buddies. No but buddies. You are no place, and this is the place where true believers. Tug McGraw said it best. You gotta believe. You gotta believe we'll have a chair waiting for you in the Lost Battalion when you get there. Okay, this is getting confusing. Are you saying, Eugene, that Glover Teixeira is in the Lost Battalion by virtue of the fact that they've already started making noises about him challenging for the strap again? And I'm going to say something very complicated. Not super complicated. Glover Teixeira is with Hackleman. Hackleman, San Luis Obispo team, Chuck Liddell, Baldwin, UFC. Glover Teixeira, screwed by immigration, still got some years, this dance in the old dame yet. This is what's going to happen with Glover Teixeira. Take your pen, write it down. He's making noises about the strap, but he doesn't believe. Glover Teixeira is not a true believer. And therefore, he wins this fight. He's not in the Lost Battalion. He's making noises about the strap for a very specific reason. Because everybody knows that Johnny Boney Joni is gone from the fucking light heavyweights, 3 fights max. He'll fight DC to get it. He'll fight Rumble to defend it. And if he wins both of those, hasta la vista, baby. If you're smart right now, you don't get a. You might have smarter guys out there, but at least you have a, being John Malkovich window into the head of the bald one through Liddell, through Hackleman. Watch what Glover Teixeira is doing. He's being handled wonderfully because he's setting himself up for what will eventually be a vacancy at the top. Number one challenge. He's number 4 right now. Wants to be the number 1 challenger. Getting a place, pulling that chair up to the table fast. Now something could happen. Something could happen. I don't know if there's any. I'd say Gustafsson was on. I don't remember if Gustafsson was on his list or not. I don't have the patience to read it again right now. But Gustafsson is in a real horrible position. He got close, but he's one thing. He needed to spend his intervening years going Donald Cerrone. Hey, Alex, yes. You want to? Yes. We think we're gonna yes. Well, would you fight? Yes. I'll fight in Vegas. I'll fight anywhere. I'll fight anybody, anywhere. I'll go up and wait. I'll go down. I'll do anything you want. Gustafsson needed to be fighting. You could only pull the Achilles thing when you're Achilles, sitting by your tent sulking. But he wasn't doing that because it was his head that was gone. I can see it. How many of you have face to face with your final chance at something? Yeah, I've done that with sex. Like I said, well, if she's offering now, she'll be offering tomorrow. And that's not always true. Sometimes you get that one moment, like Eminem says. That's okay. Buses come along every 10 minutes, but that bus is gone. And I think in Gustafsson's case, he's sitting around now. He's in the worst position in the world, waiting for other people to choose his fate. Because, like I said, Johnny Boney Joni has got a date with the belt. He's got a date with DC, which is a date with the belt. And then he's got a date with a challenger, somebody he hasn't beaten, Rumble. And then he's gone. He's gone. There's no institutional juice. He comes back. The circumstances under which he comes back. And this is why I say Gustafsson's dark star, because Johnny Boney Joni leaves the house. Elvis has left the building. DC is retired. Fuck it. I'm done. 40 years old. I'm finished. Glover Teixeira makes a claim. Rumble, Teixeira, and Gustafsson, if his head is still there, he's like, I'm here, baby. I'm here. You got some juice. Johnny Boney Joni may not be a permanent fixture in heavyweights, depending on what kind of time he has there. Come back. I think he's not interested. I think he can hang. So Glover is not, as by virtue of the fact that he won this fight, is not Lost Battalionized. He's not saying stuff that's crazy. He's not saying stuff he believes. Or rather, he believes something that is the opposite of what we think he's believing. We think he's saying he wants to challenge Johnny Boney Joni. He knows Johnny Boney Joni's gone. That's what you got to look for, you know. You're hunting for something, look for the bushes moving. Okay, so we've gone to the top two. The co-main event that didn't happen, and Glover Teixeira, Rashad Evans. It's tough, man. It's tough. It's not like the old days. I was sad to see Chuck Liddell go, but you felt somehow complete. You know, he was in his how old was he? 44, 45? I don't remember. Randy Couture, same deal. Rashad Evans is 36, man. You want to see this guy bumping around your gym with a dirty Reebok gym bag? Hey, you guys, hey, you want? Come on, I can help you train. You want to help you? No, Rashad, it's okay. What's he gonna teach us? It's like Mike Menser, man. I was down at Gold's in Venice one time. A friend of mine, we'd go in and out, did a workout, left. He goes, "You see that guy there? Yeah, you mean that homeless guy in the front? Homeless guy, man, that's Mike Menser. God damn, Mike Menser had bipolar disorder. Also, I think connected to extensive steroid use. Joe Weider kept that under wraps. He didn't want to talk about that. All right, Khabib Nurmagomedov and some, you know, fish thrown to him. Yeah, he won the fight. Rose Namajunas and Tisha Torres. I called that for a win. See, if I go backwards in time, these picks look great. I picked Glover. I picked Dan Henderson. Of course, Dan Henderson, technically the fight was called off, but, you know, by virtue of the fact that he can call Machida a piece of shit, let's call that a win. No, I don't want to call it a win. I didn't factor it in. Khabib Nurmagomedov won. Where is he now? Man, that guy, he's still A-listing it. He stays healthy. He's got a lot of things in his corner. And keep in mind that 10% of the UFC is owned by Sheikh Tanoon. If you don't think he's happy about seeing a Muslim fighter in there, you're crazy. I mean, some guy said to me, "Oh, you're only picking this guy because he's black." I said, "You think Japanese guys sit around and when they see Toyotas drive by, they go, Toyota? Oh, Honda. Oh, look at Hyundai. Hyundai's Korean." Okay. No, you don't do it. But sometimes, you know, blatant localism kicks in. Fine. Rose just won over Tisha Torres. I picked it. I think Kid Nate was like, I'm going to pick Tisha. I don't know what. I can't remember. Then I went through a dark period of getting screwed. Darius, I got screwed by that. Betch Crea. Apparently, Betch's head was done in by the Ronda fight. She may never be back. I love her story. Loved her. We wrote about her at Ozzy. You know, Court McGee. I always knew you would fail, but never quite so spectacularly against Santiago Pantanegro. No, that was a fucking mugging. It was a mugging. You know, there are ways to lose and there are ways to lose. If you don't think that got you a very high number in the, and he puts him, I think my spy there puts him in, I don't know, maybe deep in the Phantom Toll booth, but he's deep in the Phantom Toll booth. He may have lost Battalionized him. I don't know. But, I mean, Court McGee didn't get enough steam to get a constituency that's going to be making a case for Court McGee to do shit. Wes Sims, I hate to keep going back to Wes Sims, lost almost every single fight I ever saw him fight, but he was a crowd favorite. People wanted to see him fight. He kept fighting. Cub Swanson. Cub Swanson won. I picked Cub Swanson to win. Manny Gamburian, now I want to kiss his mouth like Michael Corleone kissing Fredo in Cuba. And Godfather Part 2, it was you all the time, Fredo. It was you. It was my brother. I trusted you. You broke my heart. You broke my heart, Manny Gamborian. You broke my heart. But he broke my heart in one of the most compelling fights of the fucking night. Because it ties in, and here we go full circle. We did mention Nazis in the first minute, so I don't have to do that. But the full circle is John Dodson. Yeah. Johnny. And if you remember on the Care or Don't Care preview, what we said was, and you have to excuse my intense fatigue. I am very tired. Oxbow had a show last night, and we had some knuckle up listeners there. Like I say, anytime Oxbow's playing, you text me, I quiz you. Look at this. This is nice. It's like a snail. You text me, I quiz you. You pass the quiz, you're on the guest list. You plus one. So, dude, I don't know that he wants his name mentioned. D and his lady friend, you know, S. I don't know if she wants her name. S. McIntyre. I don't know if she wants her name mentioned. They managed to show up. Hey, I mean what I say, and I say what I mean. An elephant's faithful 100%, or whatever the doctors use thing is. So Manny broke my heart, but going into the Care or Don't Care preview, we agonized over this. And finally I said to Kid Nate, I'm going to have to pick the guy who it would pain me least when he loses. And my mother tells me to stop rubbing your nose when you're on camera. People are going to think you're on coke. I go, but I am on coke, Ma. She goes, well, don't rub your nose. I go, well, can I go like this? She goes, well, don't do that either. And I go, can I go like this? Don't do no drugs. No, it's bad for TV. I go, what about outre sex stories? No, they don't want you to do that either. I had the occasion to actually, in a conversation with my mother the other day, tell her how many people I'd had sex with. Conversation you never thought you would have with your mother. She actually paused, you know. I thought, wow, that went pretty. It wasn't the point of the story. You know, we were talking about something else, but it came up, you know. And I thought, wow, she just got in there and she just barreled through. We got to the next thing, and by the time we got to the end of the conversation, she goes, what are you, Wilt Chamberlain? Stop that. I go, I did stop it. What are you talking about? I had a problem, okay? Get off my back. That's the thing. Bill Clinton, see the guy when I was having dinner with him in L.A., tell you, people know you have a problem, they come after you. Oh, those two Asian twins with the plunging halter tops and the leather skirts. And Bill Clinton, I don't know. I was in the same hotel where RFK got shot having a small dinner with Bill Clinton. What do I know who those women were? I don't know any. They could have been his sisters. Those expanded families. So I said on the Care or Don't Care preview, I said, I'm going to pick whoever would pain me the least if they lost. Manny, he's a bad luck kid. He's had a run of bad luck. He's as bad luck as whether, you know, with the shoulder dislocation, the ups and downs. He's not threatening for the belt. He's just a guy. Just a guy getting health insurance. So if Manny loses, I don't feel too bad. I feel like, okay, Manny, you know, Manny's okay. Manny goes, shuffles under Joe Silva's office. Thanks, Joey. Hey, man, hey, could you give me a ride over to the Wells Fargo? I won't put the check in. And he gets in the car and he goes to Wells Fargo. They put his check in, and Manny goes about being Manny. So I picked Manny on that basis. The fact that Manny then loses, I don't feel as bad because I thought that John Dodson was a fucking true believer. And there's nothing more terrible than a true believer losing because the guy says shit that you know he's in the Lost Battalion and he doesn't know. And that, if you remember the story about me sitting at the table with the 5 Brits and them saying, who's that girl there? And I didn't really realize the British conversational ploy where that wasn't a real question, but an entreaty to a conversation that would have revealed something to me that I should have known, but didn't keep my mouth shut long enough to know, which is essentially that she was fucking our hairdresser. And I kicked myself for interrupting when I said, "That's my girlfriend." All right. She kept my mouth shut and just kind of looked at me like, that's the essence of Lost Battalion. So for John Dodson to lose, he'd be like, it's a true belief. It would just be too sad because he got so close. These guys who get like Gustafson, these guys who get so close and are found wanting, those are the guys. It's a drag to see those guys trucked on out of there. The only thing more terrible than seeing John Dodson lose would be seeing John Dodson win. Oh my God, boy, Jamor, this guy, I'm gonna go, you know what you're gonna do? Nothing. You're gonna tour, you know who you're fighting next? My ass. That's who you're fighting. And actually I go, well, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Dodson is a true believer or a cynical opportunist. Because if he's a cynical opportunist, that means he's checking himself into the Lost Battalion. He's lining up like all those guys in World War II after the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. He's there. But if he's a true believer, we're going to see a guy who's going to wake up smelling copious amounts of fucking coffee. What's he talking about? What's he talking about? I don't know. I was looking at the man's face and I was like, he was doing the Dodson version of what's his fucking with Conor McGee, his version somehow. I gotta talk this up. I gotta talk my way into a fight. But in my heart of hearts, in my deep down in me gutty what's, I don't think so. Deep down in my gutty what's, I think Dodson's a true believer, and I think he's about to take the rocket ride to Lost Battalion. Found himself blinking in the mist. With all the other gorillas in the mist. Your JDS, all these guys. I don't care. Look, the mistake you're making is to think that the Lost Battalion is a terrible place to be. I don't know that it's a terrible place to be. Phantom Toll Booth seems pretty terrible to me, just because I hate waiting rooms. At least you're in the mist, you got some freedom of motion, and you can nurse whatever kind of illusions and fantasies you might have unencumbered. And you think you're somewhere whenever you think you're somewhere without ever having any realization that you're actually nowhere all the time. Not like a Dark Star guy who knows he's nowhere. Houston. Just floating. Just floating there, baby. Just floating. So I made a pick for Manny. It was an intelligent pick. He loses, I don't feel bad, but I do feel weird with Dodson winning and all the smack talk he won convincingly. But over what? Over Manny? So what? And now he's talking massive amounts of game about massive amounts of game about what his next plans. Easy, buddy. Easy. You're talking your way back into another date with destiny, but you haven't considered the ramifications of what's going to happen when you face Mighty Mouse again and find yourself coming up short. Bouncing around weight classes seems to be working. He walks around and says at 165. Guys dropping to 125. Craziness. But this fight, I don't think I've ever seen. This is wars and rumors of wars. I don't think I've ever seen a larger number of we got Dan and Machida. Are they in? They out? If you got to ask that question, man, I'm guessing you're in the mist. Betch? Where is she? Court McGee? Court McGee hasn't realized he's a dead man. It's like those scenes where people don't realize that they're dead. Sixth Sense, movies like that. Cub Swanson stays alive for another day. Bambose, disappointment. So far in the card, I don't give a fuck. It was a casual pick anyway. So I was wrong with Bambose. I was wrong with Manny. I was wrong with Court McGee. I was wrong with Betch. I was wrong with Darius. 1, 2, 3, 4 wrongs. But I was right with Swanson, right with Rose, right with Khabib, and right with Glover. So I'm at 500. I don't remember Kid Nate's. I'm sure Smurf does. We'll put it up. So this is increasingly the wave of the future. And I tell you, while it was a drag to see Chuck Liddell go, and it was a drag to see Randy Couture go, we saw older men who played it out as long as they could. Drug testing maybe non-existent. I don't say that Chuck was on. Don't know. Randy, for sure, well documented. But it's okay. You know, if your 65-year-old pilot says he doesn't want to be a pilot anymore, you don't feel bad about it. What we're about to see are these names. How old is Betch? 65? No, she's not. Is Court McGee 65? No, he's not. But fortunately, these guys will be claimed by stunning anonymity. The kind of anonymity that has you at Target at 11 o'clock at night buying Pampers and somebody saying, hey, didn't you used to be that guy? And you think they're going to say to the UFC, and they go, on Judge Judy, what had sex with his sister? Then no, that wasn't me. No, really, what's your name? What's Court McGee? Nah, never heard of you. I've been publicly identified for Knuckle Up more times than I have for anything else, in actual fact. In New York City, no less. Going through the airport, I used to have a TV show in Germany called the Eugene Robinson Show. Going through the airport at Tegel in Berlin, I was identified. Little Indian cat. Oh, I just saw you on TV. God, thank you, man. Hey, how about this package? You just put it through without looking at it too much. Compromise a dude. So this is UFC on Fox 19. I'm not going to drag the show out to an hour just because I say it's going to be an hour show. I'm done. You know, Teixeira, smarter than the average bear. Evans, gone. Dan, gone. Machida, gone. Betch, gone. Cormagee, gone. Gone. And it's stunning. It's stunning. It's stunning because eventually what's going to happen is the life cycle of a fighter. If you got guys who come out of the pipe at 22, how many fighters are talented enough at 22 and they cut Trujillo and they cut fucking, did they cut Trujillo? Well, I know they cut KJ Nunes and I think they cut Trujillo as well. I could be wrong about Trujillo, but I know they cut Nunes. It's a big payroll, man. They're trying to position this thing for sale. Got to do stuff for the bottom line. God damn it, I'm in agony. Physical agony. I'm going to tell you something. We spent about $40,000, soon to be $50,000 on this Oxbow record, which comes out to about $6,000 a song. And we put up a GoFundMe campaign. I don't expect you guys to give a nickel. That's what I said. I don't expect anybody to give anything. You shoulder your burdens without complaint. I'm not complaining. It'd be nice to see some of that money back. So I started a GoFundMe campaign. In that GoFundMe campaign, 47 people have contributed $1,300 in the first 2 days. You can go to the Oxbow Facebook page, which I believe is open. And you can find the link there. Contribute if you like. You don't want to? Fuck you, tough titty, man. I'm not making complaints. There are guys I know who spend more than that on golf. You know, the guys I know who in the MMA, but they got to have like nice shit. They got the special tape and special soap and special gi and special $100 shirt that doesn't get stinky and the specials rash. I got it. I just have to spend it on Oxbow. Will it get you a free record? It's got nothing to do with that. It's got the fact that when you record in a 24-track studio with an engineer, a producer, digital hard drives, we purchased, not inexpensive, expensive ones, mastering, $4,000, shit adds up fast. 16-piece orchestra adds up fast. $5, $1, 50 cents, whatever you want to give. What about the people who are dead in Ecuador and Japan from the earthquake? Look, man, this is not about that. Well, why would you spend? I got it. You know, we've been hearing it all of us. But this is over a decade. We've been working on this record since 2007. So I'm done. That's the end of my commercial. The link is on the Oxbow Facebook page. I'm not even going to put it down in the front. But anyway, that's the show. If you haven't appreciated that what you saw this past weekend was the largest, it was a Pearl Harbor-esque rush to induct, you need to rewatch it. I don't know what salient lessons I draw from it. I don't know what I picked up from it. I have no idea what lessons, but this is somehow something I'm going to hold on to for a week because I think these are developing issues. Like, remember what I said about Glover Teixeira. Watch. Wait. In fact, remember what I said about Conor McGee and Nick Diaz. Watch. Wait. I don't say that's going to happen. Nate has already started digging in, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And Conor McGee, uncharacteristically silent, outside of trying to, position Irish MMA to bounce back from this terrible and unfortunate death. Which, it's an ill wind that doesn't blow somebody some good, which actually could play to their advantage. I don't know. I don't want to think about it, really. But anyway, this is round 319. I'm your host, Eugene S. Robinson. It's a short, mega, focused, thorough Nazis the first 30 seconds. But no real outre sex stories. That's okay. Can't be everything to all people all times. Tomorrow Monday at 10:30 a.m. on Facebook Live. Facebook Live, I'm interviewing a guy, the Aussie's Facebook Live page. I'm interviewing a guy who's suing the federal government as we speak, and they're making a movie about it. I'm not even going to tip off his name because it's 50 chance he doesn't show up, but that's what we're going to be talking about at 10:30 a.m. on Monday, April 18th. If you can watch it from work on the down low, it's not as long as this show, and I'm a lot more sane when I'm doing it, but it's about 10 minutes. You might dig it. Come in. Anyway, that's the end of the show. We'll see you soon. Look what you made me do!